I should have known something was off the moment Samantha started giving speeches. It was one of those warm spring afternoons when everything feels staged. Like the universe itself had RSVP just to play along. We were in a rented garden, the kind that looked like it belonged in a wedding magazine. Tiny white lights strung through fake. Trees, tables draped in linen that screamed, "I cost more than your rent." And champagne that tasted expensive just because someone else was paying for it. People clapped their delicate hands against stemmed flutes, while Samantha stood center stage in a designer cream dress that made her look like a first lady in training. Nathan, her husband, hovered beside her, flashing that peer-ready grin he probably practiced in mirrors. "And now," Samantha said, her voice warm and rehearsed, "we give back to the ones who gave everything to us." Cue applause. A few people even wiped their eyes, though I suspect that had more to do with the champagne than sentiment. I smiled, polite and small, the way mothers do when they're not sure what's about to hit them. Nathan handed Samantha a white envelope with a wax seal like it was a proposal. She opened it delicately, lips pursed in mock suspense, and gasped. "A penthouse in downtown Seattle," she read aloud, "with panoramic skyline views." Everyone erupted. Someone even whistled. I didn't get an envelope. Instead, Samantha reached into her handbag and pulled out a brass key. Just one. No box. No ribbon. Just the key. She walked toward me, heels clicking against the marble path like a countdown, and placed it in my hand like she was giving me a relic from the past. "A little escape from the noise, Mom," she said, that flawless smile never once faltering. "Remember how you always said you missed the quiet?" People nodded approvingly, as if this was perfectly normal. As if it made sense that the woman who raised her was being gifted silence. "It's this charming little farmhouse out near Stowe. Very vintage. Very you," Samantha added. I nodded. I smiled. I lied. Because in that moment all I could think was, this isn't a gift. It's a dismissal dressed in wood and nostalgia. And no one noticed my silence. No one asked if I was okay. The party continued like I didn't exist. Not even Samantha's eyes found mine again. But Emma, my 14-year-old granddaughter, glanced at me from the punch table. Her brows pinched, her mouth a quiet question she didn't dare voice. That look stayed with me. 30 minutes later, I was wedged in the backseat of Nathan's Tesla-like luggage, with a single duffel bag and a box of dishes Samantha said didn't match the condo's aesthetic. No one offered to ride with me. Nathan didn't say much. Just chewed gum and tapped the steering wheel like I was delaying his schedule. "How long will I be staying?" I asked. He shrugged. "As long as you like. Think of it as an adventure." Adventure. I raised this girl through widowhood, through night shifts at the hospital, through scraping together enough to help her launch her tech company when no one else believed in her. And now I was being handed off like a project completed. The road turned from pavement to gravel, then to something that barely resembled a road at all. The trees grew dense, the air damp. When we finally pulled up, I saw the house. A sagging porch, peeling white paint like old skin, windows like closed eyes. There was no welcome mat. No one waiting. I got out with my bag. Nathan didn't even put the car in park. He tapped the steering wheel and said, "You'll be fine. Wi-Fi might be spotty. But hey, you wanted peace." Then he drove away. And I stood there in the gravel, dust settling around my ankles, wondering when exactly I became a burden disguised as a mother. That's when I noticed it. A blinking red light above the porch. A security camera. Brand new. Still wrapped in plastic film. Who installs a surveillance system on an abandoned farmhouse? I stepped onto the porch slowly, key in hand, the boards groaning beneath me like they hadn't been walked on in years. But something in the air, something I couldn't name, told me I wasn't the first person to stand here in a long, long time. And somehow I knew this house had stories it hadn't finished telling. The front door creaked open with a slow groan, the kind that seemed designed to warn you rather than welcome. I stepped inside, half expecting to be hit with the smell of mildew or old dust. But the air wasn't stale, it was odd. Clean. Too clean. A place like this should have been filled with cobwebs and forgotten corners. Instead, it felt like someone had just left. The wooden floors bore faint footprints. The rug in the living room had no dust. And on the coat rack there hung a weathered flannel shirt, sleeves folded neatly like it had been worn and taken off with care. On the kitchen table sat a ceramic mug with a dark ring dried at the bottom. The sink had one spoon, freshly rinsed but not put away. The fridge hummed softly, alive. When I opened it, I expected it to be empty, or worse, moldy. Instead, I found 2 cans of ginger ale, a half-eaten sandwich wrapped in wax paper, and a stick of butter. Someone had been here recently. I should have turned around and left, but something pulled me forward like a thread tied tight to my ribs. I moved slowly through the house, each room colder than the last. Upstairs, the hallway was narrow and lined with peeling wallpaper. But again, it was too well maintained to be abandoned. That's when I saw them. 3 photo frames on the wall outside a small bedroom. The glass on one was cracked, but the image inside was still visible. A man I didn't recognize holding a baby. The second showed the same child, maybe 6 months older, sitting in a high chair, grinning with mashed peas on her face. I reached for the third photo, the one faced backward, turned against the wall like it was hiding something. When I flipped it around, my breath caught. It was Samantha. No older than 2, smiling wide, her curls a mess, her little hands wrapped around the neck of the woman holding her. But the woman wasn't me. She had dark hair and eyes that seemed tired but kind. She was blurry in the photo motion maybe, but her arms held my daughter like she'd been born to do it. Like she belonged there. My knees buckled. I sat down on the top step, the frame still in my lap, the photo face up like it was daring me to deny it. Who was she? I placed the photo back on the wall, but backward again, almost afraid of what it meant. I stood up, shaking, and continued down the hall. That's when I noticed the attic hatch above me, sealed shut with a brand new chain lock. The screws were still shiny. This wasn't part of the original house. Someone had added it recently. Hidden something. I reached for the handle, but it didn't budge. Locked. Back downstairs, I moved through the bedrooms. The last door on the right led to what seemed like the master bedroom. It was lived in. The bed was made. On the dresser sat a folded button-up shirt, a pair of prescription glasses, and a worn paperback titled Raising Emotionally Intelligent Children. I felt something tighten in my chest. This wasn't just someone passing through. This was a life. A presence. A voice that had once existed here, and had only recently gone quiet. I don't know what made me do it, but I crouched beside the fireplace. Something was glinting behind the iron grate. I reached in, fingers brushing soot until I found it. A sealed envelope, edges burnt like someone tried to destroy it, but didn't finish the job. On the front, written in thick black ink, were the words, "For Samantha, do not destroy." I didn't open it. Not yet. My hands were trembling too much. I placed it on the nightstand and stood again, eyes scanning the room. That's when I saw it. A corner of white, poking out from beneath the dresser. I knelt, pulled gently, and revealed another envelope, this one yellowed with age, the ink on its surface faded but still legible. A Rachel Donovan. The name hit me like a slap. I didn't know a Rachel Donovan. Or, I didn't think I did. But something about it echoed. A name I might have overheard once in a late-night phone call James had taken back in the 80s. Something he brushed off, as he always did. I opened the letter carefully, the paper so brittle it nearly tore in my hands. The handwriting was elegant, practiced, controlled. If this letter is being read, then I've lost the last battle I was willing to fight. My name is Rachel Donovan. I am the biological mother of Samantha Halloway. My ears rang. I blinked. Reread it. Again. And again. It didn't change. Rachel went on to explain how she suffered severe postpartum depression. How James, my late husband, had used her illness against her in court, declaring her unfit. How she'd spent years institutionalized while he secured full custody of their daughter, Samantha, and then disappeared. Rachel claimed he married a kind nurse, someone she didn't blame. She wrote, "I don't hate her. I blame him. He stole my daughter and built a new life on top of my grave." My hands shook. My stomach turned. The kind nurse was me. James told me Samantha's mother died in a car crash. That he'd been a widower with a baby. And I believed him. I never questioned it. Why would I? I was young, naive, and I thought love made people honest. The final pages of the letter were clipped with a photocopy of a birth certificate. Samantha Donovan, born April 3, 1988. Mother, Rachel Donovan. Father, James Halloway. My name was nowhere on it. I sat on the bed, holding paper that weighed more than stone. And for the first time since arriving at this house, I realized I had no idea whose life I'd been living. It was nearly midnight when I heard the knock. Not a gentle tap, but a hurried, nervous rapping that sent a jolt straight through my chest. I'd been sitting in the living room, staring at the unopened envelope marked for Samantha, my hand still stained with the dust of old letters and older lies. I opened the door expecting wind or shadows. Instead, it was Emma. She stood on the porch in a hoodie 3 sizes too big, backpack slung low, her breath fogging in the cold air. Her eyes, wide, frantic, searched mine like she needed permission to say what she'd come to say. "I had to come," she whispered. "Dad doesn't know I'm here." As she stepped inside before I could respond, pulling out a folded sheet of paper from her jacket pocket. Her fingers trembled as she handed it to me. They were fighting," she said. "I heard them. Mom and Dad," he said. "She found the house. She found Rachel. And Mom just kept saying, 'We said that place was sealed.' I knew it had to be about you." The paper she gave me was a printed record. A property title, archived from an old database. "This house," she said, voice shaking, "it's not in Dad's name. It's listed under Donovan Property Trust." I stared at her, words failing. She looked up at me like she was afraid she'd broken something just by knowing the truth. "Why would he say he bought it if he didn't?" she asked. I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because suddenly everything fit too well to be coincidence. The trust, the letter, the locked attic, the hidden photographs. Rachel wasn't just erased, she'd been buried. And this house was meant to stay that way. Emma dropped her backpack and pulled out a small flash drive. "There's more," she said. "I found a computer set up in the basement, hooked into some kind of old network. It's all encrypted, but I cracked part of it. I copied what I could." I followed her down into the cellar, where a forgotten desk sat against the back wall, stacked with crates. Behind it was an old PC tower, its fan still whirring faintly. Next to it sat a metal lockbox, empty now save for dust. Emma plugged in her drive upstairs, opened a folder labeled Archive for Digitized, and clicked the first file. The screen flickered, then settled into grainy gray footage. A woman appeared, Rachel. She sat in a wooden rocking chair, hands folded in her lap, her voice soft but steady. "If you're watching this," she said, "then I've exhausted every legal way to be heard." My throat tightened. Rachel looked straight into the camera. Her face carried the exhaustion of someone who had fought too long, too hard, and had nothing left to lose. As she began to tell her story, how after Samantha was born, she fell into severe postpartum depression. How James, my husband, used her breakdown against her, filing emergency custody orders while she was sedated. How he convinced the court she was a danger. How her trust fund, set aside by her parents for her and her child, was quietly transferred out of her control under the guise of mental incompetence. "I didn't lose my child. He was taken," she said. "My house was taken. My name was taken. And I was replaced." The next video showed her older, more fragile, her hair thinner. She looked directly into the camera and said, "I know who he married. The nurse. I don't hate her. She didn't know. He fooled her too." I covered my mouth. My entire life, my marriage, my motherhood was a script written by someone else. I clicked into another file. This one wasn't a recording. It was a spreadsheet. Emma had labeled it Trust Activity 1990-2002. There were dozens of entries, wire transfers from the Donovan Trust into a new corporate account, Samtech Holdings, years before Samantha even launched her first app. "He used her money," I whispered. "He used Rachel's money to fund Samantha's company." Emma nodded. "And he tried to bury the records here, in the one place no one was ever supposed to look." I leaned back, the weight of it all pressing down like stone. The truth wasn't just ugly, it was calculated. James hadn't stolen Rachel's child by accident. He'd orchestrated a new life from the ruins of hers, down to the funding for Samantha's empire. And I, God help me, had lived in it, trusted it, called it love. But now the silence was over. And now the house was speaking. And the woman it had tried to erase for decades? She was finally being heard. I didn't sleep that night, not out of fear, but from the sheer weight of it all. The truth was no longer a question. It was a living, breathing thing sitting right there on my dining table in the form of AS tapes, spreadsheets, forged signatures, and a letter from a mother who had been erased like a mistake. By morning I knew what I had to do. I dug through an old tin box buried at the bottom of my suitcase until I found it. A business card, yellowing around the edges. Howard Ellman, estate attorney. Retired now, but decades ago we'd worked in the same hospital system. Me in billing, him in trust and probate. I remembered him once telling me, "If you ever find yourself tangled in family legal knots, call me. I cut through them for a living." So I did. He picked up on the second ring. His voice was gruff, older but unmistakably alert. "Linda?" he asked. "It's Margaret now," I said softly. "I need help." I didn't tell him everything over the phone, just enough. Enough to make him get in his car, drive 3 hours from upstate, and arrive at my front door by sundown. Howard stepped inside carrying a leather briefcase and the look of a man who'd seen too many people come forward too late. But when he sat down and I laid everything out, the envelopes, the adoption files, the bank records, the digitized tapes, his expression hardened from concern into disbelief. He flipped through each document like a surgeon reviewing a tumor scan. After nearly an hour, he closed the folder, removed his glasses and looked at me. "This isn't just inheritance fraud," he said. "This is a federal crime. Forgery, illegal transfer of trust funds, judicial manipulation, and based on the financial trail, wire fraud and corporate misappropriation." I didn't flinch. I just asked, "Can we prove it?" He nodded slowly. "With what you've shown me, yes. But if we do this, Margaret, it's going public." Loudly. That was the moment I decided I wasn't just going to expose a lie. I was going to resurrect a woman the world forgot. That night, with Emma beside me at the kitchen table, I opened a blank document on my laptop and typed the first words. The Rachel Donovan Foundation for Erased Women. We built a website. Emma helped me scan every document, upload every tape, catalog every timeline and court transcript we could find. We wrote Rachel's story. Not just the tragedy of what was stolen from her, but who she was before the silence. A mother. A writer. A woman who should have raised her own daughter. By the end of the week, the site launched. Quietly at first. But in the age of screenshots and hashtags, quiet doesn't last long. By day 2, the story had been picked up by a mid-level blog about family court injustice. By day 4, it hit a major digital magazine with the headline, "Erased, the mother who lost everything so a tech empire could be born." And then everything exploded. Samantha's board of directors suspended her pending investigation. Investors began pulling funding. Articles flooded in from every major outlet. Photos of Rachel, grainy from the old VHS tapes, were plastered across news sites. Her face, once hidden behind locked attic doors, now stared out at the world from every screen like a reckoning. Social media called her the ghost mother. But I knew better. She wasn't a ghost. She was proof that truth can survive anything, even silence. Somewhere in the noise, Samantha went radio silent. No press statements. No denials. But the damage was done. And for the first time since stepping into this house, I felt something I hadn't in years. Pride. Not for what I'd uncovered, but for choosing not to look away. I had lived a lie for 40 years. But I would not let Rachel's truth die with it. I sent her one message. Just one. "Come to the house. No press. No lawyers. Just you and me." I didn't expect her to reply. For days she'd vanished, gone silent as headlines blared her name alongside the words fraud, theft, and erasure. But to my surprise, she responded within the hour. "Tomorrow, 4 p.m. When the SUV pulled into the gravel driveway, I was already standing at the door. She stepped out alone. No driver, no entourage. But the polished mask she wore at every board meeting hadn't cracked. Not yet. As she walked into the living room like it was a business negotiation. Her eyes scanned the house, the table where the documents still lay in neat stacks, the small TV where I'd paused Rachel's final tape mid-sentence. Her mouth tightened. "So this is what you've been doing," she said. "Digging up ghosts." I didn't answer. I simply picked up the remote and pressed play. Rachel's voice filled the room. "If you're watching this, it means the truth has clawed its way back to the surface." As she spoke with calm sorrow, not bitterness. Her words weren't meant to wound. They were meant to remind. And then came the line I had saved for this moment. The one I hadn't dared listen to until I knew Samantha was sitting across from me. "Margaret," she said, "if you ever see this, please know I never hated you. I think you were tricked just like me. You didn't steal her. James did. You were just the next name in the story he was writing." Samantha shifted in her chair. "But if you loved her," Rachel's voice went on, "if she was your daughter in every way that mattered, then you owe her the truth. She deserves to know who she came from. And if she's grown into the kind of woman who can hear it, then maybe, just maybe, she'll see me for who I was. Not a mistake. Not a threat. Just her mother." I paused the tape. Samantha looked away. "I didn't know," I said quietly. "But you do now." She stood up. Her voice was clipped, her tone defensive. Rachel was mentally unstable. Dad said she tried to hurt herself. That she disappeared. "He lied," I said. "And he took everything from her. Her name. Her money. Her daughter." "You have no idea what you're unraveling," she snapped. "This isn't just about old mistakes. This is my life. My company. My future." "No," I said, standing to meet her eye. "It was her future first." I walked to the mantel and picked up the printed confession drafted by Howard. It was short. Clean. Just enough to acknowledge the fraud, the forgery, the abuse of Rachel's trust funds. Signing it wouldn't erase what had happened, but it would be a first step toward setting things right. "I'm not signing that," she said without even reading it. "I won't let you drag me down over some tragedy that happened before I could walk." I looked at her, my daughter, and yet not mine at all. And I said the one thing I never thought I would. "You were never the tragedy. But what he did to her. That was. And the longer you deny it, the more of him I see in you." Her face flinched, but only for a second. Then she picked up her bag. "This was a mistake," she muttered. As she walked out. Just like that. No apology. No hug. Not even a second glance. I stood in the silence she left behind. But this time it didn't crush me. Because I knew what was coming. Within 24 hours the investigation went public. Not just whispers on blogs or late-night TV segments, but a full federal filing, backed by notarized affidavits, scanned trust records, digitized footage of Rachel, and Emma's traceable financial reports. It all went live. The truth was no longer a file folder or a story whispered between rooms. It was a wildfire. And Samantha, no matter how fast she ran, could no longer pretend she hadn't seen the spark. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was clean. Earned. The kind of silence that comes after a storm, when the air feels clearer and the earth steadier, because everything false has been torn away. Within 2 weeks of the investigation going public, Samtec collapsed. The board voted to suspend all executive operations. Major investors filed lawsuits. Former employees began speaking out. Samantha, once the polished face of the future, vanished. No press, no public statement. Just gone. I didn't look for her. I didn't need to. I had already lost her long ago. Just hadn't realized it. But what surprised me most wasn't the silence she left behind. It was Emma. She never went back home. Instead, she unpacked her things in the guest bedroom, set her laptop up on the kitchen table, and began helping me sort through files for the foundation. "This place matters," she told me once. "It's not just a house anymore. It's a signal." And she was right. The Rachel Donovan Foundation for Erased Women started as a website, a folder of grief and proof. But now it had become a movement. Survivors wrote in from all over the country. Women whose voices had been silenced in courtrooms, in clinics, in families that never believed them. They sent letters, testimonies, even their own mothers' names. The house, the one James thought he could use to bury the truth, had become a memorial, a lighthouse, a rebellion. We hosted the first community circle right there in the living room. Just 6 women, sitting on mismatched chairs, sharing their stories while Emma recorded audio for a future podcast series. There were tears, of course. But there was also laughter. A strange kind of healing that happens only when someone finally says, "I believe you." Right by the front door, I hung the photo I found on the attic floor. The one of Rachel holding baby Samantha, standing in front of this very house. I had it restored, cleaned, framed in oak. Every morning, I pass by her face as I make coffee. Not blurred, not hidden, remembered. Sometimes I swear I hear her voice when the wind moves through the trees. The house no longer creaks with secrets. It breathes with purpose. Walter still calls once a week. The lawsuits are ongoing. But he says our foundation has already changed 3 state-level discussions about custody reform and postnatal mental health law. I don't know how far we'll get. But I know we've already started something no one can bury again. One evening after Emma had gone to bed and the whole house dipped into that soft golden quiet just before dusk, I made myself a cup of tea and stepped out onto the porch. The trees whispered. The air was light. I took out one of Rachel's old journals, rescued from a box in the basement, and opened to a page I'd read dozens of times but never aloud. My voice was soft, steady. You were mine, and they took you from my arms. But now the truth has called my name back into the world. I closed the journal, not because the story was over, but because I finally knew how to carry it forward.